This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know. Some rockstar dads who started a show. So here's the next episode.
Welcome to the Rockstar Dad Show, everybody. Goodness gracious, me alive. It's starting to feel like spring outside, Gary. And man, that seems exciting, you know? I don't feel like this winter was crazy, but I also feel like we were gone. I don't know why it feels like that, because we were not near as busy as we were last year, but man, it just feels like it didn't really get cold here.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I remember like last what would have been like the beautiful time of year that we have, you know, like normally Texas has like 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall where it's just amazing.
Totally.
And we were kind of traveling like right up to that. And I was like, it was really nice everywhere else. And we're like, oh, when we get home, it's going to be like this.
Yeah.
And we got home and it was still freaking hot.
Yeah.
And then I felt like we never really got the winter. So like we kept on talking on that run while it was about to be fall. We were like, yeah, it's going to be nice. Like soup and chili and, you know, wearing jackets. It's going to be awesome. And then it was just hot forever.
Yeah. Last summer was weird too, because it was like no matter where we went in the country, it was hot, you know, and like it was like oddly hot in the Northeast and stuff, you know, like it was just really a weird summer. Hey, I joined a new gym and I'm pretty excited about it. And I may have hit pay dirt. And I want to give everybody out there who listens to the show who isn't like a gym rat some advice. Because here's the thing. I get it. Like a lot of people really enjoy going to the gym and like making it a whole thing and being seen there and talking to the people and, you know, and showing how many heavy things you can pick up and put back down and, you know, all of that. I am not one of those people. And, you know, I don't think you are, you know,
To me, like going to the gym is very similar to sitting on an airplane. It's like headphones in, don't talk to me. I'm going to just do my own thing.
Right. But, you know, you see the horror stories, and especially on social media. And I know a lot of what we see now. I don't know if you know this or not, Gary, but a lot of what we see on social media isn't real.
What?
No, you know, like somebody had one viral video with a lady, you know, this is just speculation, but like with a dude coming up and trying to tell her how to do the exercise, you know, and being super. And so now everybody just makes these fake ones, you know, but you know, it's just like, it's just this whole scene that it's just not for me. Never has been anyway. So I unintentionally did something fucking brilliant and I'm very excited about it. I joined a gym at a hospital. And now
what?
Hold
on.
Yeah. This is it's crazy, but
that's a thing.
It's okay. So there's this, I'll tell you off this thing, but I'm not telling everybody the web sleuths can figure it out. But there is a hospital that has a local hospital here that's very close to my house that has like 8 gyms in their hospitals that like it's full on, like you can be a member and you go in there and it's a full working thing. It's not huge, but it's got everything you could ever need. All the stuff's like obviously very clean because it's a fucking hospital.
Yeah. And
they have trainers in there and they do try and upsell you some, you know, they got classes that it's a full thing.
When you walk in,
yeah.
Does it smell like a gym or does it smell like a hospital?
Neither, actually. That's what this is what I was wondering. I was wondering if it was going to smell like a hospital or whether it would smell like a gym, and it doesn't smell like either one of those things. It's very hard to put it definitely does not. It doesn't smell like, you know, grease and sweat and hand sanitizer, and it doesn't smell like, you know, fucking rubbing alcohol. It doesn't really have like an overwhelming scent, which was very. And the other thing though, I thought you were going to ask me was like, and this is what I did before I joined. I did a recon mission and because they, like I joined online because I didn't want to talk to anybody, because, talking to people sucks.
Yeah.
And so I did a drive-by whole recon mission to see if, wait a minute, now, so if I do this, like, what's the parking situation?
Yeah.
I did a test run to see how far it was from my house during the times where I would normally go. And because there is one that's a little closer, but I just know how that one's going to smell because it's upstairs from the very popular Mexican food restaurant here. And it is one of those places where people post that they're there on Facebook and shit, like I know what that's going to smell like.
Yeah.
And also it's called Anytime Fitness, but you can't go there anytime. So like just out of principle, that place can go fuck themselves,
Yeah.
Because it's like that's not anytime,
No.
It's the opposite of 7-Eleven, right? 7-Eleven used to actually be open from 7-Eleven, but now it's 24 hours a day. They did you a favor. Anytime Fitness isn't fucking anytime.
They need to change the name to just like sometimes
Fitness. That's actually that's a good bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, because there's the old thing about like, hey, does 7-Eleven have locks on the doors? Because like that people, we used to ponder that back before we could Google shit. It would just,
and also if Walmart had locks, because Walmart's used to be 24/7, but they're not anymore.
Are they not?
No, I found this out the hard way. They like all close it somewhere between 11 and 1, depending on location.
No shit.
Yeah, I think that's like one of those we're not getting it back post-pandemic things.
Oh yeah, not getting it back. Well, and also, I mean, they have. Is it Dove or Divin? They've dividend. They've dividended so hardcore into the delivery thing. Like our buddy Gary Price has like switched all of his Amazon subscriptions over to Walmart's. And I'm not there yet. Like I really enjoy my Amazon.
I'm not there to switch over yet, but I will say that there's been times, whether it's like, for some reason, the thing I'm looking at on Amazon doesn't have get it here tomorrow or the next day. I'm like, this is bullshit. And I'll look for it on Amazon or not on it. I'll go to Walmart and like, holy crap, they'll have it here in the morning. So there are things that we have used it and it's pretty good.
You know who started that same day shit? And people are boycotting them. Target. That's that's the place that started the whole like, oh, we'll just bring it to you right now. And that because Casey had started this years ago and she would just like, we need a kite, but I don't have time to go get one,
Yeah.
And so we just,
she didn't have time to go get a kite because she had made time to go fly a kite. But
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
You put value on your time, Gary. You know this. Yeah,
100%.
Exactly. She spent that time that she would need to go get the kite doing what she would need to do while it's fucking brilliant. Housewife, momming, if you ask me, and you pay for convenience, right? Well, Walmart apparently now, because, Amazon delivery is free. Well, now Walmart, if you pay a fee, it's just free, I guess. And so anyway, but no, the gym doesn't stink. Anyway, here's the thing, and this is the reason why I'm a genius.
I'm sorry, I just got to interject one more time real quick.
Okay, go.
Warning.
Yeah.
If you are doing the Walmart stuff delivery,
I know it
and it's like for a gift, especially for a kid,
Yep.
a lot of the times they don't put it in a box. Like it will just be the toy sitting on your porch, like it's sitting on the shelf. So
they don't even they won't even put it in a bag. There's just a fucking Nerf gun sitting on your porch around Christmas, and you're just like, God damn it. But you're so right. But it's funny is it's like you feel guilty about the amount of waste with the goddamn Amazon boxes because man, it's like it is a stack every week. Oh
man, it's a lot. Yeah. I've got a garage right now, full of boxes that I've broken down that this weekend taken to the dump over here.
Man, you know what they started doing here? I don't be jealous, okay? But we used to have bulk pickup once a month. We have it every week now. You can just take that stack and stick it out there by the curb, and they just fucking pick it up.
See, we have it every other week, but it's been super windy lately. So
no, that's a good point.
I'm actually going to take it this time.
Do you know, I have a story about that. One time, I put all of that shit out there and a wind. I put all of and I stack it really nice, and I try and put like the heaviest stuff on top, and it's like my shit looks awesome out by the curb. In fact, sometimes it looks so good, I'm worried they won't pick it up because they'll think that belongs there by the mailbox. You know what I mean? That is a really nice stack of boxes that this man has carefully constructed. But I did that, and so then one of my people on my street posted like a picture of a box that had flown, the wind had picked it up and it had flown over and knocked over a plant, and it was like it had knocked over a plant, and they were just like, this is beyond infuriating. Because why can't people put their boxes in the recycle? Why do you blah blah blah? That's why we have a recycle bin and yada 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 and blah 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 blah. And so I just wrote back and I just put, that might be mine. Well, we get everything in our house from Amazon. We have one recycle can. It is impossible to get it all in there.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad everybody's okay. And it didn't even break the pot. It everything was fine. It knocked it over, right? And it just like, Jesus Christ. And I mean, people just get so uppity about shit. God damn it. Relax.
Yeah, big time. We're living in a society.
Speaking of the wind, do you know the story about Pillowgate?
I don't know if I do.
Okay, so my dog Milo is the fucking best. He's the best dog. There's not one person that meets Milo that doesn't go. Every single person will say, God, this is the best goddamn dog. And he's just the sweetest, and he's a big boy. So like you can, how men like to slap dogs and shit. You can do that to him and he likes it, and like he's awesome.
I'm part of that demographic that falls into everybody, and I freaking love him.
He's great, right?
Yeah.
He was the fucking worst puppy. And I think we talked about this last week, and I have blocked all of this out for some reason, but he was the shittiest puppy. And we got this fucking new lawn furniture one time, and he ripped it all to shreds, and there was just cotton all over our yard, and we weren't around for like a couple of days. We had like somebody else was taking care of our dogs, and they didn't go out and pick it up.
Oh boy.
And a windstorm came through, and it looked like a fucking cotton tree had dumped like the whole neighborhood was covered in it. And everybody was just like on Facebook going, where's all this coming from? And what is happening? Whatever. We're just like doing the thing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Well, it's in our yard too.
Super weird.
God, man, that's a fucking tough break for somebody. That looks like really nice cotton.
Yeah.
So this gym, Gary, I gotta say, what do you think is the best quality of the gym that I like about the gym?
Oh man, so you threw me for a loop there, because like the question, what's the best quality?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, it's at a hospital. It's probably got like nice equipment. It's probably not like new, in good condition. It's clean. But then you said these specific words that I like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that changes things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm gonna say like hot moms.
Okay, well, there are a couple of those, yes, but predominantly old people. And they just smile at you. Nobody talks to you. They know each other, and they're all in groups. Like there's this one group of ladies that go every day. They use the same trainer, and as long as you stay out of their way, you're good. And
when you say old, like what's old?
Like older, like I'm 53 and they're old. Like, I mean, they're
70.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a couple of dudes that are like full on 80 that are like rehabbing knees and shit. Or at least just like trying to keep themselves. I mean, like you're stoked. And what's crazy is none of them are scared of me. Cause in Texas, a lot of times old people can be a little scared of guys that look like us. If we've got our tattoos out and my hair is crazy, and you think my hair is crazy in the morning, it's I don't do shit. I just get up and go. And it
Yeah.
is matted against my head and sticking up everywhere. And, I mean, I'm certain that I look insane to somebody that doesn't know me, but they're just smiling, and everybody's just really happy. And then there's this one guy that looks like he's an ex-football player, but he's like in his 40s, doesn't say shit to anybody. One blonde lady, like that, that is a hot mom for sure. And God, it's great, man. I love it so much.
I was gonna say, do you think like that the trainers there feel super confident and comfortable, like really pushing people to their limits? Because if they have a heart attack, like, hey, we're already at a hospital. But now I really want to know, like, are the people there working out since they're so old? Or they're like, we're at the right place?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I actually said that to Casey. I go, and I feel so comfortable about this. Like if I fall and I hurt my knee, or if I have a heart attack,
Yeah.
like I am already there. Like as far as like being at the right place at the right time, if a bad injury or like something really terrible happens to me, I'm in the right spot.
100%.
And it's right across the street. If I need coffee afterwards, it's right across the street from all the shit,
I think you found like a hack in the matrix, man.
I did. I'm so happy about it. Now but I do have to get up, you have to get up and go drive there or whatever. Like I don't have any exercise equipment at my house anymore. So like I do have to like get up and go there. And so like, that's I don't have you and Rob to like, cause the thing is like when we do this on the road, you don't want to be the guy that bails.
Yeah.
Like even on the days you don't feel like it, like you don't always say, I just assume y'all do the same thing as I do. Like on the days where I'm like, I really don't feel like going, but I'm not going to be the one that says it,
Yeah, I mean, there's a sense of accountability, even though like we're not harping on each other on the days that someone doesn't go for one reason or another. It's not like, oh, whatever, but it's like a camaraderie / accountability issue on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I am very, very happy about that. And I got to tell you, just makes you feel good. I will tell you this. I was in therapy the other day, and my counselor, he's just the fucking best. And I love him so much. And he's just, and I said, yeah, I joined that gym that I said I was thinking about. And he was like, okay, good. And you see him, he starts writing shit down. And he's like, so what's the goal here? I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to fucking go every day,
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. And he just lets me talk. He lets me go on I rant for 10 minutes about, because all I got to do is this, and I'm thinking about this, and that way that'll start my day. And then, my pool will be open soon. And so like I can come home and I can swim. And that's what we do whenever we're on the road. And I really like that aspect of it. And so,
yeah,
and I'm going to bed early and blah, blah, blah. And he lets me get through this whole thing. And he goes, great, great, great. Why don't we start with our goal is once a week?
I mean, but I can appreciate that, right? Because the good intentions of I'm going to go every day are great. And we all have those, right? But then there's the reality of like, life gets in the way, or, hey, I may be sore and I'm not going to feel good, or low motive, whatever it is. Then there's like, well, you know what? I didn't make it today. And whether that's just one day, or it's like, hey, you know what? This week I only made it 3 days.
Yeah.
If your goal was I'm going to go every day and you miss once,
Yep.
or you miss 2 or 3, then it's like, well, I've let myself down. And well, you know what? I don't have to go back tomorrow because I've already broken my promise, or I've already let myself down,
Yep.
So I definitely like the idea of making it a more realistic, more manageable goal of, not every freaking day.
Yeah. He's helping myself set me up for success and not just another failure. Cause that's the thing, right? Is like you get into that whole starting Monday thing, which our buddy Linus of Hollywood has an amazing song about, by the way. If y'all should all go check it out, Linus of Hollywood, starting Monday. But it's that whole thing of like, I'm going to start doing this, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Starting Monday,
Right.
And so it's like by the time we get to Wednesday, if you haven't done shit, and you haven't eaten good and over that, it's like back in the day when you used to pay cash for gas. If you went a penny over, you were spending 99 more cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to get it to an even number.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never looked at that, even when we were doing cash.
no shit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like when Anika and I started dating back in the day, she knew like which gas station in town had the cheapest gas.
Right.
And she'd be like, well, if you drive all the way over here, it's 3 cents less. And to me, it's like, I don't know. I mean, at that point, my gas tank was 12 gallons, like I had a tiny little car. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to save 30 cents by driving 20 minutes away. It doesn't make any freaking sense.
I know, but you were wearing Dickies and didn't like to have change in your pockets because it fell out.
Well, I never wore Dickies. That's why I didn't wear Dickies, because I wore pants that would hold the change in the pocket. And you're right, because I didn't do that. I'd go in the store, and the other thing is I'm buying gas. Then you're going to walk in, you're going to get a Coke and a this and that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's never going to be the actual dollar amount. But if you do remember, I always had like 3 pounds of change in my
always.
pocket.
Yeah, always. Yeah. Yeah. You were like, then it would have been awesome to be your kid back then.
Oh yeah,
my dad had the change. He had this change sock. That's where I went. Like I could get $5 out of there in quarters anytime, and
oh yeah. For up until just a few years ago, we had like 2 or 3 canisters, some kind of container that we dumped our coins in, and every 3 weeks or so we'd go to the Coinstar or wherever and cash it in. I mean, I just looked at that as like, hey, it's a free $300.
Oh yeah, dude. Me and my ex paid for our flights to Vegas one time with Coinstar change.
That's unbelievable. Well, also Vegas flights probably used to be cheaper, but that's still unbelievable.
No, but we had one of those big like baby bottles.
Okay.
Anyway, hey, we have a great guest coming up later on the program. Paul Rappaport is here. This is a music industry legend who has a new book out and coming out. We're going to talk about that. We'll see. We're going to catch up with him. Paul Rappaport is coming up later on in the program. You are listening to the Rockstar Dad Show, but for now, listen to this. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. Don't forget, we are on iDoby Radio every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And you can also catch all of the old episodes on the iDoby app, which is free in the App Store. There's lots of shows on there, and they've got music and laughter and just all kinds of great things. So go anything you want. Go check out the iDoby app. And then, of course, you can always listen to this show on wherever you listen to podcasts. And we are very, very thankful for those 5-star reviews, especially if you leave a comment. We would appreciate that. Now, coming up next on the show, our guest this week is Paul Rappaport. Paul has a book coming out very soon. And the title is Gliders Over Hollywood, Airships, Airplay, and the Art of Rock Promotions. There's some alliteration in there. You know how I love the alliteration.
You do love it. This is one that anybody that's interested in music industry stuff, like it's going to be an extremely interesting book.
Right. It really is. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the interview. We did tape this, and I do just want to let you guys, I want to give you guys a little bit of the terminology and sort of like what is actually happening in it, because it can seem a little bit confusing. As like if you listen to what's the Jason Bateman podcast? It's Smartless.
Yeah.
This would be for Tracy. They anytime they want to explain something, they explain it to what's his face's cousin Tracy. So when he says he's a record guy, he essentially, a record is the song and getting it on the radio. All right. So why are you laughing?
You're talking about getting it on the radio. He has been around, he was in the industry for a while. I thought you were going, a record is a thing that used to be played on a record player. I thought you were going into that.
No. Okay.
Because he does talk about records.
Right. He does.
And record players.
He does talk about vinyl albums and things like that. But when he says record, he's talking about the song. Right. So like when you like at the Grammy Awards, record of the year, that's the song of the year, blah, blah, blah. So what he's talking about is this guy being a promo guy. What he did was he basically got the songs on the radio by having relationships with program directors at the station and music directors, taking them to eat and introduce them to artists. And sometimes you need, man, I need 5 more spins this week. Can we give you some tickets to do that? And blah blah blah. So that was his gig, and you become very close as a musician. You become very close to those guys because you do spend a lot of time with them. And in fact, I mean, one of ours in particular, Phil, who was our Dallas rep, who we still call him our daddy, he lives in Vegas. We see him every time we're out there. I mean, that is as close to family with the band as you can get.
Yeah, we haven't been on a record label for over 10 years, and he still comes every time we're out
Exactly. Yeah, and we see him a lot. And so, and and I do stay in touch with a few of the others. I mean, it's a little, Facebook and things like that. You get a happy birthday message from them every once in a while. But you know what? I mean, it's like any other job. You move on to the other thing, and that's that. But I just kind of wanted to clarify that because as he's talking about some of these things, you can get a little bit confused as to, wait, what is this guy doing hanging around with Bruce Springsteen? Like, so his job is to get Bruce Springsteen's songs from the album that they're, whatever his single is to get it on the radio. And now, so this was a big thing back in these records that he's going to be talking about. When we're talking about Journey, we're like at the prime of, like big radio shit,
Yeah.
And he's going to talk about Pink Floyd and Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen and, all of that shit. So it's such an interesting conversation, and it really does. I'm definitely interested in the book for sure. I'm going to definitely.
Just talking to him, he's a great storyteller, and he has great stories to tell. So I can only imagine the book is awesome.
He has that record guy thing.
Yeah.
Did you think that the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like the whole time we were sitting there going, and I'm just going to be honest about this. Like it's like he really separates like what it is he does. He's proud of what he did, and he really separates that from the artist and saying like, well, artists don't really know about this or about how this works or whatever. And you can tell that was then, right? Because this is now, and my ass was all up in that shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different generation. I was thinking about that when he's talking about it, because he's talking about how a lot of these guys were already famous and they didn't want to do certain things.
Yeah.
But also, some of those dudes are kind of the first generation of artists in that position, right?
Yeah.
And so they didn't have artists before them that were doing these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the later generation of when we're coming up, we're like, well, that's just what you do.
Yeah. You can only imagine, Pink Floyd or who are some of the other ones that even Journey really in the 80s being asked to do some of the shit, I mean, like when he's going to talk a little bit about Tragically Hip, and like that makes sense. Like, cause they were just this big club band, and then got to play, you'll hear the story. It's a fucking great story, but like for me, when I think about like, the bigger that we got and stuff like that, you do start to say no to certain things. Again, this is the thing. How many times did we play in a fucking bowling alley before it was like, we're not doing that anymore. We're not trying to be dicks. We've just fucking been doing this literally since we started the band.
And everyone that proposed that idea thought it was their original great genius idea, and we've already done it 100 times. One thing in the conversation that I thought, he was talking about how he couldn't get Bob Dylan to do anything. And he's like, Bob Dylan, like, here's 20 ideas. Can you do one of them?
Yeah.
And previous to that, we were having the conversation and the difference between the artist and the promoter, and the promoter's trying to get the artist to do stuff. And the conversation made sense, because there's things that promoters came up with that we didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. But when he said that, he's trying to get Bob Dylan to do one of the list of 20, I was like, okay, that's a little different, because we would have had a list of 20 and there may have been 3 that we're like, nah, we don't want to do that.
100%. But, and I remember, and again, we're going to talk a lot about passion and things like that with him. And, there were literally times where, the head of promotion who's our buddy Joe. Still stay in touch with him. Love the guy. He loves us. Not a negative word to say, but because he was so passionate, because he really wanted it to work, he would say things to me like, dude, this is the be all end all. If you don't do this, this fucking record is over. And at the time that we had hits, I had real little kids at home. And so there was a real struggle with specifically me, and the radio people, because, you guys didn't want to be gone, but you could, and it was like, I was really having to, limit us as far as what we could, but we're all happy, right? Where we ended up is great, but we said no to shit. And not because we're dicks. It was just like, dude, I've been gone for 3 weeks. I got to go see my little girl.
Yeah.
I got a little boy at home, kind of thing. And all of that was during the heyday. Y'all got to remember, if you're listening to this, Emma was born the day we got nominated for a Grammy for Girl the Bad Guys Want. I mean, that fucking rocket ship exploded at that point. I don't know if that's the right.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, that's just unbelievable for those two major life events to be happening at the same time.
Yeah. Wild, and again, and I had my ex-wife it was so opposite of like this lifestyle and that, well, I mean, she wasn't a rock and roll girl, this wasn't.
Well, and for those two things to be happening at the same time, which are two major events, they're also two major events that require complete opposite priorities.
Oh yeah, man. You're exactly right. And it became quite a juggle. I'm very, very lucky to have the support of you guys the whole time. And of course, management and all that. But, again, the biggest conflict in my life came from the record guys, and not really the regional peeps and stuff like that. I mean, sometimes, they'd be like, hey, this guy's got this idea. You guys are going to fucking play at the zoo, and you'd be like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Could we just go to the zoo? One of the biggest ones that happened is not even just the playing at the bowling alley. It's when I had to tell him that we weren't going to bowl anymore. I was just like, and this is like pretty far into it, but I'm like, listen, Chris has a bad back. I've got bad knees. Gary's got carpal tunnel, and Eric's going to kill himself just trying to fucking bowl. Like, we just can't do it anymore.
Now, if someone wants to go sit at the bar at the bowling alley, we can do that.
And you know what? And I would say that all the time. Like, we will go to the bowling alley and mingle, but we are not going to physically roll the balls anymore.
Yeah.
And God, people would get so upset. Because this fucking asshole in fucking Johnson, Tennessee had this idea to have a food drive at a fucking bowling alley 20 years into our career. And we're like, yeah, we've been doing that literally since KTXT did it in Lubbock when we had only been a band 3 months. 1994, bitch. Yeah. We did that. Oh, man. You guys are going to love this interview, though. I'm so glad you guys are listening to the show. Paul Rappaport is coming up next. He's got a new book that's coming out in the UK and the US, so make sure you stick around. But some great stories coming up, and that is going to be right after this. Y'all listen up, and we'll be right back with more Rockstar Dad Show. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show, and as promised, our guest today is Paul Rappaport. Paul, how's it going, man?
Fast and furious.
Love it.
But yeah. This is kind of backwards. Like, I feel like I should be interviewing you guys. This is turned around. Like, I'm the guy behind the scenes. You guys are the scene. Like, I'm not used to being the guy. I'm the guy behind you guys.
I don't know, man.
So I need, you can interview me, but I need to ask you some questions because I need to know some stuff about Bowling for Soup. So if you don't mind, along the way, I just need to know some stuff.
Totally fair game.
Yeah, but Gary was saying before we jumped on here, man, when you read about your book, so you're here promoting your book. So Paul Rappaport, Gliders Over Hollywood, Airships, Airplay, and the Art of Rock Promotion is going to be out, I believe, April 1st in the UK, and then when is it?
And April 15th in the States.
April 15th in the States. You can pre-order that now. But just reading the brief cliff notes, the first thing that we learn about this book is there's 2 chapters on Bruce Springsteen. I think you are the person we should be interviewing today.
Well, if you like Bruce Springsteen, yeah, you're going to want to buy this book.
You know, it's funny about Bruce Springsteen. It's like, even if he's one of those guys where, like, even if you're not the biggest fan, you respect the guy so much that, you know, I mean, eventually I guess they're making a movie about him, right? The guy from The Bear is going to play him, I believe.
Yeah, that's I wish they wouldn't do this. I don't like movies about people while they're still alive. That freaks me out. It's like just, the Queen movie was great, and you got to meet, Freddie, and it was cool and everything. And I saw the Dylan movie, but it kind of weirded me out. Like Bob's still here. Like, it's Elton John's still here. Why are we doing this now? But whatever. I'm not in the movie business. My son's in the movie business. I'll ask him.
You bring up a good point, though. I mean, I think like the ones that we watched from the 80s, which was like La Bamba and the Doors movie, and both great movies. And the way that I express, my feelings about the new Bob Dylan movie is like, you don't have to be a fan. I'm not a Bob Dylan fan, but I liked the movie. The acting was great, and I thought, the story was good. But you're right. It's almost like if you do these while they're still alive, you're just sort of like leaving the story not finished.
The story's not finished at that point, but at the same time, like there is kind of an interesting idea of it. Like you don't get to go to your own funeral, you don't get to hear your eulogy, you don't get to see who showed up, but those people get to see the feedback from their movie or story that's told.
Okay, great. Okay, now I know we're going to talk about the book and stuff, but one question back to you guys. Who did because you're early in the punk movement, right? Like, I think, like, who did you listen to? Because clearly the Offspring is listening to you.
Oh, no.
You're pre-Offspring, right?
No. We're
not the other way around.
We're around the same time, but we didn't have a hit until 10 years later.
Oh, okay.
So we're early in the pop punk movement for sure. Which would be like the early 2000s is us. But But we grew up listening to the same things that those guys were listening to, the Descendants and 80s metal and all of, and then again, like the first wave of punk and the Ramones and things like that. So, I think we're all sort of influenced by all of that, but,
But I love your guitar sounds. Like, I love your guys' guitar sounds. Like, it's like that overdrive that makes you nuts, So.
Yeah, it's fun. It's one of those things that just sort of doesn't exist that much in music anymore, as far as popular music is concerned. But let's first of all, now this is a show about being a dad.
Yes.
And so though we are going to talk about the book, one of the things that I do want to make sure that we cover, so let's get into this now, is, being a father in this industry. We talk about a lot from the musician standpoint or from an actor standpoint or a comedian or the other people that we have on the show, but we don't really have a lot of music industry folks on here. And especially you being in the promo game, that's a lot of time away from home. And it's a lot of you being in situations, that, there's a lot of craziness going on around you and that kind of stuff. So as we start to get into that, tell us about your family. Do you have 2 kids? Is that right?
Yeah, we have 2 sons. They're grown men now. One is 42, which freaks me out. What freaks me out more is the younger one's going to be 40 in June.
Wow.
But I was excited to do this podcast because, I am a rock star dad.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not the rock star, but it might as well be. I mean, as you guys know, in the business then, I mean, the business people are as big as characters as the artists, sometimes bigger characters. So, but I always tried to walk a fine line. This is a business that you can be out every night if you want to be, whether it's your band or somebody else's band. You're always being invited to things. The way I worked it with my wife, because I did have a lot of late nights. And so I would say, hey, look, Sharon, I have to do what I have to do. And when I go on the road, I'm going to have to go on the road. So, but when the weekends come, I'll take over. Right. So I said, you just, I'll take over and watch these little guys. And then they're a blast. I mean, I had so much fun with these kids.
Right.
So, but, I'm by the time the weekend comes, I'm pretty trashed. Right. Okay. So, or I could come back from the road and they'd be there. And I'm like all bleary eyed from being up for 3 days. And they go, Dad, okay. Yeah, okay, your rock and roll dad is home. I just need a cup of coffee and I'll be right with you.
Right. Yeah.
but then they'd always ask me on the weekends, like I'd take a cat nap, like I'd be playing with them in the basement or whatever, and I'd try to steal a cat nap, right? And they go, Dad, why are you always sleeping? You know, it's like you're always like taking a nap. I said, well, I work really hard, and so you know, honestly, guys, you know, I'm tired. So I said, look, let me take you to work one day with me, and you can see what it's like. So these are like double hot bobblehead kids. I don't know, maybe they're, you know, 5 and 8 or whenever I take them, or 6 and 7, whatever. So I take them to work, blah, blah, blah. I come home and I go, so do you get it? And they go, Dad, all you do is listen to records and then get on the phone and yell at people. And I said, I don't yell at people. I'm not that guy. Oh yeah, you're yelling at a lot of people, Dad. I go, no, I'm not the yeller guy. That's Irv Azoff. He's the yeller guy. I'm not the yeller guy. Oh no, Dad. So they couldn't get it. They're like, but Dad, you're having fun. Like you put music on, you dance around your office, and you get on the phone. We just don't get. Where's the work part?
Yeah. You know, it is an intense thing though that you do. Like I go into your Gary, make sure and save that thought. But as you know, I heard Joe Riccatelli on the phone a lot back in the day, and there was some yelling, and there was some intense conversations of, you know,
it's a competitive business. I mean, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But also a passionate one, right? I mean, you're not always wanting to get these records on because it's your job. You're wanting to get these on because you believe in the song, you believe in the artist, right?
Well, for me, it's always been about the music. I mean, I knew it was our job to sell, you know, records and CDs. That came as a consequence, you know, for me, I've loved music since I was a little kid. It's inside me. When rock and roll, it took me over. Forget about it. There's nothing. Look, you guys playing a band. There is nothing better when that band is on fire and the drums are beating and the amps are blaring, like and the whole band's cooking in sync. I can't. I rival sex. I mean, you can't get like a better feeling. You know, I'm still playing a band today because I love it. Right.
Right.
So for me, it was always about the music. And so, this works for me. I'm a people person. I love this music. I'm going to go out and tell the world about this music. It's pretty simple. That's the job. But there's a lot of gatekeepers you got to get through to tell the world. You got to talk to radio, and you got to figure out how to do that. Then you got to do super big promotions to get everybody to, hey, look here. It was always about the music. So yeah, the job, yes, that's my job, but it's very natural for me because I'm very passionate and I'm very animated. And so it was, you know, it was wonderful. Plus, when I became the head of rock promotion for Columbia, there's guys that are older than me, like Bob Dylan and the Stones and Pink Floyd. The people I grew up with are like Bruce, Billy Joel, Aerosmith, like we're all the same age. Mm-hmm. And I'm not in any less awe of their talent, but our relationship's different. Because when we start, we're just guys. Like I happen to be the record guy. Bruce happened to be we're trying to make his career happen together, mm-hmm. but we're on a similar level. When I meet Stones and Bob Dylan, those guys helped shape my life. I learned how to play guitar listening to Keith Richards on early Rolling Stones albums. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have a teacher didn't even know how to play that stuff. You took a record, you put a tone arm down, you ruined your records because you kept moving the tone arm back. What's he doing? How does he do this? So all of this music shaped me. Bob Dylan really shaped my life. Whether you're a fan or not, I mean, he did change the culture. He doesn't
absolutely
talk about it, but he did. So for me, it was, wait a minute, this is even better. I get to give back. I can help these guys, right? That made my life what it was, mm-hmm. right? How many Rolling Stones concerts I see? It's my all-time favorite band. Right. Keith Richards is my all-time favorite rock idol. Bob's like the Shakespeare of our time. Pink Floyd, come on. So I thought, oh, this is great because now I can help new bands, I mean, they're new when they start. I mean, Bruce Springsteen, nobody knows, it's like Billy Joel, Aerosmith, Bruce, they're new later on in life. It's Loverboy, it's Men at Work, it's Midnight Oil, all these acts that we had.
Wow.
Eddie Money. But so it was grand. It was absolutely grand. And it was neat to be able to give back to
Mhm.
these people that meant so much to me. And I got to have great relationships with them because, I'm a musician. So they didn't see me as a suit, like another record company suit. So they invited me into their family,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what notes they sent you, but I got a present. It was a thank you present from Pink Floyd. Come and play live on stage with us
Wow.
as a thank you present. Now, come on, guys, who does that?
Yeah, that's
Who
amazing.
does that? Who's like, we want to thank you so much. Yeah, come and and I'm like, oh yeah, at a rehearsal, right? No, proper gig.
Yeah,
Amazing.
you know,
You know,
and I mean, I think a big thing to tell the listener here, who might not really know how this world works, but when you're a record guy, you're the promo guy, you're the guy
Right.
that's getting it on the radio, and that's what your job is, to continue to help build this artist's story.
yes.
And a lot of times, you're sort of like working against what the artist may want, or what the manager wants, or where they want to be, or whatever. And you're saying, hey man, if we go do this station, like they're going to do this, and they would really, it would be a huge thing if you would go play this show. And the artist's like, I don't want to go play that show, and blah, blah, blah. And so there is a tug back and forth, and it's a very fine line, I think, in the
Oh my God.
relationship.
I just flashed back to all. Oh my God.
But, we
Yes,
were
it's
family with our record guys as well. We were always family, but at the same time, there were passionate and hard conversations to have when we were like, we just don't want to do that. We don't want to play on fucking bowling alleys anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, because see that you're like the artist, so you don't see what we see.
Sure.
So I would have to tell guys like Bob Dylan, like Bob, and he didn't like to promote himself. He's not that guy. He just wants the music. So, but I would say, look, I'm going to give you a list of 20 things. Just at least do one. And he would say, no, not that one. No. It's like, but I remember the guys in Pink Floyd. It's okay, look. And these guys don't have to do anything. Okay. These guys are on an elite level. They never met radio people until they met me. And I insisted they meet people, because if you meet these people who've been playing your music for so long, and you take the time to meet them, and they get to know you, and you guys are nice guys, there's going to be a bond. And when that bond happens, these people are going to play this new record of yours for 2 months longer than they would just because they got to meet you. It's this kind of thing, right? But I remember Nick Mason, who's a really funny guy, and he's more funny after 3 margaritas, and and we're sitting they were I can't remember which tour it was. It might have been Division Bell. I can't remember. Maybe it was Momentary Lapse, whatever. And I said, listen, I want you guys to take the time before you go on stage to meet some very important people. They were in big radio stations. I know it's not your favorite thing to do. I said, but I want you to do this because it's going to matter a lot. Now, Nick's like, fucking 3 sheets to the wind, looks at me and he goes, my nickname's Rap because my last name's Rappaport, right? So they call me Rap, or they call me Rapper, right? So, Rapper, we're far too old, far too tired, and frankly, far too rich to have to put up with this bullshit. And then we both laughed. We both fell out of the booth, and we were laughing our ass off. We were on the floor laughing, right? But because he got it, like he but he was making, he made a point, and then it was like, yeah. So but they didn't like doing this though. So I said, look, the biggest rock station in LA is KLOS. I'm going to talk the general manager into painting the building pink. Okay, the whole building is going to be pink. Then I'm going to borrow your pig. They're famous for inflatables, a giant pig. I'm going to borrow one of your pigs. I want to fly it over the radio station. I'm going to put Klieg lights on it so the whole city sees it. And then I want you and David to do an interview on the top of the radio station roof, which they did not want to do.
Right.
They didn't want to do any interviews, but
Sure.
they're not. They're inward. They're not gregarious people. These guys, right?
Sure.
They do their thing. They play music. They don't need all this. But they did me a favor, which was a favor for them. I mean, if you paint a building pink and you put the giant pig floating over it, and you have David Gilmour and Nick Mason on the roof doing interview, guess what happens?
Yeah.
The fucking traffic stops in LA.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the boom, television, radio, newspaper, like, You can't, if you're anywhere near La Cienega Boulevard, forget it, because you ain't going anywhere, because everybody's out of their cars looking at what's going on. So I had a big imagination, so I liked to do those kinds of things you read about in the book. I created an airship for them, biggest blimp in America, had it painted psychedelic and flew all over the country. So, but no, the artist doesn't know what you guys don't know what we know. But wasn't that the beauty of the business? Your job wasn't to be marketing people. That's my job. Your job is make the best music you can, guys. Go in the best studio you can. Get the best producer. And then guess what? You're going to get the best promotion person in the world and the best marketing people and record companies that know how to make things happen. And that was the beauty of the business. That's why it was such a glorious time, because the best of everything gelled into this symbiotic thing. The best radio stations to play your music. And that's the beauty of this era, right? That's what happened. But no, I remember the Psychedelic Furs, okay, first of all, band comes out, Psychedelic Furs. Okay, so it takes people to get a handle on what is that. The first album, only 2 people played the Psychedelic Furs. One was WNEW in New York, Scott Muni, and the other was a guy named Sky Daniels in Chicago at the Loop. 2 people in the whole country are going to give this record a shot. Scott Muni makes it happen. He makes things happen on AEW in New York. All of a sudden, Psychedelic Furs were selling records, and he says, Rap, ask the band if they'll do our Christmas show, right? It's at Radio City Music Hall. It's a big deal. It's like, I don't know how many people are fit in Radio City, 6,000, 8,000, I don't even know.
Right.
What an enormous, opportunity. So I go tell Richard Butler, right? Butler, these guys, you're going to play the Christmas show. We're not doing that. That's a sellout, man. We're not going to sell out for a radio station that wants to use us. I'm like, Butler, you don't get it. They're not using you, right? This is good for your career.
Right.
You're going to play in front of 8,000 people in New York. They're playing the hell out of your record, right? This is a good thing for the Psychedelic Furs.
Right.
He's railing, I'm not doing this right. The other band members will look at them like, yeah, Richard, we think we should do this, right? So I said, Butler, tell you what, don't do it for you. Do it for me. I'm out here killing myself for you. Do me a fucking favor and play this giant show for your fucking career, please. They play the show. The crowd goes nuts because the band is great. And because they only played clubs, it was the biggest stage they'd ever played on. But they could hold it, right? These guys are fantastic. Like Butler's a great frontman. They could hold the stage. Crowd goes nuts, okay? Hello, band launched in New York, right? End of story. I go backstage. Butler is sulking. Right? I'm getting high fives from the rest of the band. They're hugging me. They're kissing me. Butler is sulking in a corner. So I want to, just stick a knife in him a little bit, right? So I go, Butler, look, here's the deal. Whether you like it or not, you just blew LA to pieces, New York to pieces. And it's going to be great for you and your guys. I said, but there's a problem. He goes, what's that? I go, well, you went overtime and you owe the union $4,000.
Jesus Christ.
Which wasn't true. I just, wanted to get a rise out of him, right? He looks at me, his eyes are, he's like, I was like, no, but I'm just, just sticking it to you, because you deserve it, right? All right. So we all go out to dinner, right? I wish this was in the book. You can't shoehorn 30 years of stories in a book. You just got to.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
So I say, okay, look, we're going to celebrate. I'm taking you guys out to dinner. I don't realize that there's like how many guys in the band? 4. There's the entourage is like 20 people of groupies and all these people. I take all of these people to a big Indian restaurant on 52nd Street. And we walk in and we look like, you can imagine what we look like, right? It looks like the circus team. Everybody that's eating wants to eat fast and get the hell out of there. So I'm eating, and it looked like the Last Supper. Everybody's having Indian food. Everybody's in. Butler finally gets it. He finally understands what I'm doing for him, right? And he looks at me, and he a big smile on his face, and he goes, "You motherfucker!" And he jumped over the table and landed on me, and we both fell backwards. And this whole table of food, like everything, is all over us, right? And we are laughing hysterically, right? And the kid who was the college rep, I'll never forget it. He's a, that's how I started as a college rep.
Sure. Yeah.
His eyes are like pie-eyed, and he looks down at us and he goes, "Oh my God, this is just like I read in Rolling Stone."
Yeah. Yeah.
But and in the end, look, these guys still tour, right?
Yeah.
But just like you said, the band doesn't know because it's not your job to know.
Sure. Yeah.
Here's a good one. Bob Dylan came up to me once because I was always, he goes, you're always doing all this great stuff, man. You got radio shows and TV shows, and why don't you and I ever do anything, right? And I'm like, Bob, I'm your biggest fan. I keep telling you to do stuff, but you don't want to do it. Okay, how's this one? This isn't in the book. Hey, a Rockstar Dad exclusive. Okay.
All right.
Okay. CBS television calls me, mid 80s. That's 1985. Bob is huge, right? We want to do a Bob Dylan special. 2 hours, prime time. He can do whatever he wants. We're not going to tell him where to stand. We're not going to tell him what to sing. And Bob is used to censorship and all this kind of stuff, right? I go backstage show. Bob, great. CBS, right? Bob Dylan special, 2 hours. You're in charge. You do whatever you want. Oh, I ain't doing that, man. Why not? Oh, nobody will watch that, man. You need like a handle, man. You need like Live Aid or Farm Aid. He goes, you can't, nobody's going to watch that. I'm like, Bob, you're fucking Bob Dylan. It's like you're an event. You don't need another event. You are the event. Don't you get that? No, I ain't doing that, man. So he doesn't, right?
Right.
One day, I had you can still look it up. I had a beautiful radio series called the Columbia Records Radio Hour. Okay. We put out 2 CDs, volume 1, volume 2. But if you look on the internet, you can find Columbia Records Radio Hour. The idea was we combined artists to make music, new kind of music, right? So I would have Booker T and the MGs and Boss Gags and put them together, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff. So anyway, Bob sees all this stuff. He wants to do this stuff. I said, Bob, you want to do something cool? Tell you what, let's do a live broadcast of you at midnight, right? Midnight, Bob Dylan live across the country. What do you think of that? Well, how about this? Okay, you tell everybody that we're going to do that, right? Yeah. He goes, but when the broadcast starts, you hear a needle from a record player hit a tone arm, and then they hear my new record. What do you think of that? That in his mind, he thinks that's cool, right? But you have to understand, he doesn't know because, okay, think about the universe. There's the sun and all the planets, right? If you're on Earth, you got a great view of the sun, right? Okay, but if you're the sun, like Bob, he has no view at all.
Mm-hmm.
So he's thinking, oh, well, this is a cool way to promote my record because people are excited about my new record. I mean, he knows. And then this will be a way they'll hear it. And I go, but Bob, the problem with that is that if we tell everybody that you're going to be live and you're not,
right,
that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And he thought about that for a second. But you're talking about a guy that's, Bob's like, it's like talking about Dylan's like talking to Picasso.
Sure.
So, but to your point, the artists are the artists, and we're trying to help out and talk you guys into doing stuff that you don't want to do. Yes, that's my job.
There's definitely a team involved, and it's definitely an interesting game to play. Now, I do now back to fatherhood. I do have to say something about your. Now, this is interesting because not only are you radio and record company exec extraordinaire, but musician and magician.
Yeah.
You're a magician, which that's the holy shit. Like, are you a grandpa yet?
Yes.
So you just, you like make the quarter appear behind their ear and shit. And they're just like, this is the greatest thing of all time.
My grandkids think I'm a fucking wizard. So wait a second. Here's one. Okay, so I have 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
And I'm learning close-up magic. The kind of stuff I do is let me in front of 20, 30 people on a table, cards, coins,
sure,
balls, fruit comes out of nowhere. These kinds of things, right? Mentalism, this kind of stuff. So I'm learning, and I was very lucky. I got to study with a master magician, the guy who invented a lot of sleights, coin sleights, and card sleights that people do today. This guy invented them. Okay, so I'm lucky to take lessons from him. His name's Tony Slidini. He took his name from Houdini. Back in the day, these guys, there was the great Cardini and this one and that one. But if you ask any musician who Slidini is, they will bow down, right? So I'm lucky enough to take lessons with him. So So the kids see me doing this stuff. So I had my older son, Adam, and I was doing a trick with a cup, and I go, look, okay, follow this ball, right? The ball is disappearing. He can't find it. Comes out in my pocket, comes out from behind his ear. Da, 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 da. So then at the end of the trick, you know, he's looking at the ball, little white ball, little white ball. I go, okay, now watch. If I do this, I lift the cup, and all of a sudden there's a lemon, like out of nowhere. And I put the cup down again, I lift it up again, and there's an orange. Okay, he freaks and runs out. Mom, Dad made fruit come out of nowhere. Dad made fruit come out of nowhere. He runs back and he goes, Dad, you got to make cherries. I love cherries. Make cherries.
Amazing.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, now I take these guys to see the Jets. Okay, that's in the Meadowlands from Long Island. It's forever, right, to get to the Meadowlands. We're coming back from the Meadowlands. Okay, I used to levitate for them, like, you know, just levitate 4 feet off the floor, right? That got a big rise out of them, right? So I'm in a car with my wife's in the front, they're in the back. The traffic is terrible. Okay, little kids. Dad, what? You got to do that thing. What thing? You make the car float over all these cars because this is terrible. Just float the car.
Yeah.
That thing, you know, the thing. I go, oh, levitation. Yeah, levitation. Do the levitation and get us out of this traffic. And I'm like, oh, guys, you know me. I do, like, the cups and the ball. You know, I'm not the big illusion guy. Oh yeah, Dad, you can do it. We know you can do it. You just don't want to do it. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. So so I just tell you. So yes, I have, you know, the older granddaughter now. Okay, now she's older. She's 14, right? So at around 10, she starts to figure out, oh, maybe this is all sleight of hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to pull out the big guns then. And I'm like, yeah, they're sleight of hand, but just so you know, there's real magic. She's like, yeah. It's okay, look, here's a deck of cards. Pick one. I don't care which one it is. Sign your name on the face of the card. Put it back. Shuffle the deck. I don't care. Put the deck on the table, right? I go, okay, now, give me your hand under the table, right? Because when I push down on the top of this deck, your card is going to float through the deck, down, and then it's going to pass through the table, and it's going to drop in the palm of your hand. Okay?
Yeah.
She's looking at me like, yeah, sure. Push the top of the deck. A few seconds later, bang, card hits her hand. She pulls it out from under the table, sees her name, runs out the room screaming.
Oh, man. Yeah. I would too.
So I had to set her straight. Hey, you punk. You know, it's like, guess what? You know,
that's it. Watching my my son's best friend watch magic is the greatest thing on in the world, because he's just completely mesmerized, and he would just go, "My mind is completely blown right now." Like,
no, it's even for adults. Look, if you do it right. We try to do magic. I don't like when people call it tricks. I don't like to do tricks. I want to do magic. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. And if you get good enough, you perform magic. It's different than performing tricks.
Sure. Yeah.
So even for adults who are reduced to, for 30 seconds going, wait a minute, you're reduced to a child. It's just a fun craft for all of those reasons.
I totally agree.
Learning magic takes time and dedication. What point in your life were you learning all these magic?
I will tell you guys this. You're going to crack up. I guess I'm a romantic. I have a lot of interests, and I found the time to do them. Let's put it that way. So, excuse me. I come to New York in the early '80s. And I meet this friend of mine, it was a friend of mine who was already working in New York. He worked for the sister label Epic. He took me to see Slidini. He and I were practicing magic together. So I'm practicing magic with Tony, I guess I want to say, 83, 84. And it's not like learning guitar, because like once, you learn your bass parts, so you learn chords, we repeat chords, right? Or
Sure.
we repeat phrases, if we want to do lead solos, there's phrases that we have that we can always improvise, but you're going to find your fingers in the same place. But when you do magic, everything is different. If you do something with coins, you have to learn different things. You do something with cards, you do something with a rope, you do something with cups, balls. it's a different play each time. It's different fingers. It's different. How do I talk to you? Magic is it's not even so much about the effect. It's what am I saying to you? It's like stand-up comedy. What am I saying to you to get you to believe this or that, to take you down a certain road? So you go, whoa, whoa, whoa. And at the end you go, holy shit. All right. That's an art form. That's so many hours in front of a mirror, right? I can't tell you the amount of hours if you want to be good. There's a trick I do, putting coins through a table, just like the card. So I have silver dollars, right? And you see them in my hand. I slap them on a table and they pass through the table, right? And there's like 6 versions. Like, I start with 6, then there's 3, then there's 2, and you can't. You can't see it. You can't follow it. It looks like magic. And I learned this from Tony. And one day I went to his apartment and I said, Tony, I've done this trick so many times. I put 1,000 silver dollars through a table. I can't stand this trick anymore. And he looked at me. He was an old Italian guy. He said, he spoke with broken English, which was part of his act. And he looked at me and he said, Paul, he goes, that's so good. He goes, you're probably just getting the hang of it. I thought he was sticking me like I was sticking Richard Butler, right, with a knife. No. After he passed away, 6 years after he passed away, I'm in front of my mirrors because you're always practicing. You never, it's like golf. You just never,
of course,
get there, right? So I'm practicing. I'm looking at my mirrors, and it dawns on me how what this thing is really supposed to look like and why. This is 6 years later of performing this effect, and I looked up and went, "Oh, Tony, you were right. I'm finally here. I was just getting the hang of it." Like I said, God, I wish you were here, or if you're up there now listening.
Yeah.
But I would make time for these things, like playing guitar, magic. I was a competitive épée fencer for years.
Wow.
Because I love swords.
Yeah.
But I would make time for these things. I don't know how I know how I made time for them. I watched no TV through the 80s. I couldn't tell you. I mean, every night instead of watching TV, I'm working on card slides or whatever, or I'm practicing guitar, or I'm out, taking a fencing lesson or whatever. My assistant, when Friends had their last show, she goes, "Hey, are you gonna watch, the big last episode of Friends, the finale?" And I went, "Probably not, because I've never seen it." She goes, "You've never seen Friends?" I go, "No." She goes, "You've never seen Friends?" I said, "No, I haven't." She looked at me. She goes, "Rapp, that's un-American." So my interests are, I'm not as well read as a lot of people, but I know stuff that other people don't know.
Yeah.
Like I can manipulate cards. I can do a double lift. I can do a shift. I can do all these things. But if you ask me, you might ask me something that's more worldly, and I don't know just because I didn't read about that. I'm into different stuff, so.
What is that? How are you about social media and things like that? Or is that something where you just like?
They want me, there's a friend of mine who's a great marketing guy. And he said, "Look, you're going to have this book. And what you really want to do is you want to be a big Instagram guy. You want to be on YouTube. You want to be that guy. And then you'll also have the book." It's not natural for me to do that. It's just not
yeah.
It's just, I'm not, I imagine maybe one day I could have a podcast like you guys, because it's fun, but I don't, maybe I'm a little like Dylan in a way. Like I have trouble thinking about, I'm going to be on Instagram, like, "Hey, look at me," or "like this," or I'm not that guy. I wrote this book because I wanted to share all these stories. I wanted people to have fun like I did. Like if you read this book, it's not like a boring this happened and that happened. I have a photographic memory. I can remember, you have conversations with Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, Pink Floyd, all these people. You're there. Like I wanted to bring you there because you are not going to believe what the fuck. You'll read it and go, this can't be real. But this was how, how's this? Okay. The manager of Journey, Herbie Herbert, okay? One of the biggest characters of all, gets on a Yiddish kick, okay? He's not even Jewish, but he and the road manager got into Jewish people, the jargon, whatever. So they're going to be on a Yiddish kick. They send out Yiddish for Dummies books to the whole industry. promoters, agents, if you want to talk to us, you're going to have to learn a couple lines of Yiddish. Okay, this is real. I get the letter. I get the book. It's cute. Herbie called. I'll never forget. It was a Thursday. I can't remember which album it was, but we're selling 50,000 albums a week. I mean, this is a huge band, right? And in order to keep momentum, you got to put a single out, and it's got to be on time. And you guys know how this. You've been in the business. It's time. Everything's timing. This is a very important conversation because we have to decide the single. Because I have to tell the rock stations the next day. It's got to get put in production. Herbie Herbert, line 1. Herbie, how you doing? Was machst du? He starts talking to me in Yiddish. I'm going, Herbie, this is cute. I got the book. It's great. But this is like a super important conversation. He keeps talking in Yiddish, okay, for 2 fucking minutes. And then he stops and he goes, Rap, what the fuck? A nice Jewish boy like you can't learn a couple of lines of Yiddish? I'm like, Herbie, I get it. It's cute, but this is like a heavy conversation. This is timely. He goes, I know. Learn your Yiddish and call me back. Click.
Oh, my gosh.
This is the music business in fucking 1985.
Oh, my God.
I want to get the single out. I got to learn 2 fucking lines of Yiddish to call the manager back to get the goddamn single out. Okay? You want to talk about rock and roll? Come on, right? That's just a fucking tip of the iceberg of shit that I dealt with. We all dealt with because it's wacky, right? These times are nuts. They don't make sense.
What was the single?
Stone in Love, maybe.
Oh fuck! I knew it. God, that's
you like Stone in Love.
Oh yeah, I love that song so much. It's.
I'll tell you something very interesting because you can be a promotion person. I have good ears. Like I can tell stuff, but you don't know everything. I thought of a different song. I can't remember which one. My partner, Jim McKeon, said, "Oh no, Rap. Listen to Stone in Love again. It's bigger. It's more musical. I know the one you're thinking of, and yeah, it'll be okay, but no, think of Stone in Love." He made me go back and listen to Stone in Love. So when Herbie called, he said, "Now me and Mac talked. Like, we think it's Stone in Love." He goes, "I love it, great." But you're talking about. I worked with Storm Thorgerson for Pink Floyd. He's their graphic designer. Okay, this guy designed 80% of your record collection, and you don't even know it. Him and Poe Powell had this Hypnosis, right? And Houses of the Holy, right? This is those guys. They're not CGI. These aren't computer images. They Storm builds things and then photographs them because he wants to bend reality. Okay. Sure. This is his whole thing. So if you look at Momentary Lapse of Reason, Pink Floyd, that's not 7 beds on a beach and the rest computer. That's 700 beds on a beach. Okay. And it rained the day they were going to shoot it. So they had to take 700 beds off the beach and put 700 beds back on the beach. Okay. Gosh, this is the business that I was in, that I loved, because the accent was on art, right? And we had budgets to do the best art we could. So David Gilmour wanted, it was for Division Bell. He wanted 10,000 copies of Division Bell in this blue vinyl as a collector's item. Now, blue vinyl, as you guys know, colored vinyl sounds terrible. And it's Pink Floyd, and these guys are big-time fidelity guys. So I call their engineer, Andy Jackson. I'm like, Andy, this is going to sound like shit, right? It's like, you don't want colored vinyl. You want black virgin vinyl, right? No. Gilmour wants this blue vinyl. So enter Storm Thorgerson. So Storm flies over from England. He's got to look at the album cover also. I show him 30 colors of vinyl, but it's Pink Floyd. Of course, none of those colors are good enough for them. So Storm wants to make his own color. Fine. He gets his art director, Peter Curzon. They go to some laboratory, mix up a batch of this Pink Floyd blue. For anyone who ever saw this or owns one of these, I will give it to them. It's the most beautiful blue, right, you'll ever see. Okay, so I've got the plant, mixing this stuff and those chunks of vinyl, right? Okay. Manager calls me 3 weeks later. Now, Pink Floyd is a giant family of people. They don't all talk to each other all the time. You're talking people are making movies, people are doing sound, people are doing the big production, lasers and puppets. And, what's all this I hear about blue vinyl? We don't want blue vinyl. Rap, don't you know that blue vinyl is going to sound like shit? Don't you know that the best vinyl is black? Come on, Rap, it's you. Don't you know that the best quality is black virgin vinyl? Okay, this is the manager of Pink Floyd, right? I'm like, yes, Steve, I know that. And that's why I tried to tell that to Gilmour. And that's why I tried to tell it to Angie Jackson, because I know that. I go, but now, Steve, I have piles of blue vinyl on the floor, which, by the way, has already been pre-sold by our salesman, right? And I'm like, so where do you think I should put this vinyl, Steve? Because I know where I'd like to put it. So he laughed. Then he laughed. He goes, "Okay, Rap, I guess we'll be having blue vinyl." But so this is the kind of stuff that you, as a record person, you would you would deal with and try to have some sit down with Storm and Dave. I mean, these guys. Okay, we want a CD that's special for us. Okay, the CD packages? Yeah, those little nibs on them? Yeah, we hate those. They're cumbersome. Our fans don't like them. Nobody likes them. We want CD packages with none of that. No nibs, right? Also, can you put Braille like on the outside, on the edge? Because look, there are people that listen to us that are sight impaired, and it's a book. It's a record about communication. We want Braille on the edge, right? Okay, this is how these guys think. These guys are like. That's why their shows are how they are.
Sure, of course, yeah.
And you have to, if you're the record break, you have to deal with, well, what can we do, what can't we do, and that kind of thing. So
somewhere there's a product manager that still has nightmares about that, for sure.
No, it's because you want to do the best. Look, I'm a fan of all these bands, right? So they know that I'm going to go out and fight for them, right? Like I'm going to ask for things, but there's certain things I know I can't ask for because it just won't make sense. But I am a guy that will think of a giant psychedelic airship and talk my record company into it, which took me 2 weeks to talk them into it because it costs a lot of money.
Sure.
I mean, there's money and then there's money. It's like,
oh yeah.
If you're going to promote Pink Floyd, you're already going to spend $2 million on videos and in-store. Now I go to the president. I go, look, I want to do this psychedelic. It's the biggest airship in America, and Storm's going to. It's going to look like a creature from outer space, but it's going to be great. It's going to fly from city to city. Okay, the president of the label would see me in the hallway and go, I don't want an airship. I don't need an airship. And then he'd run down the hall, right? The president of the label is running away from me, right? But I finally talked him into it. I said, no, Donnie, this is going to be one of the greatest things we've ever done. And so I would fight for stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'd have to tell Storm and David, I'd say, look, I can go fight for molds, like custom molds for those CD packages that you want. I said, but think about this for a second. We sell 4 million, right, Pink Floyd albums in the States. Like that's our, that's the goal, and maybe past that. I said, suppose I get somebody to make these custom molds, and just think about this. What is it going to cost to make a custom mold for CD? I don't even know. 150 grand a piece. I don't know. But let's say we make them. Okay, well, let's say in the middle of pressing all this stuff, the molds break. Do you know how many sales you're going to lose? Where we have to rebuild molds? Yeah. Like it doesn't make sense at a level of the States. And I think they had EMI make a few of them in Europe because they didn't make as many, right? But I said I can't go back to Don Einer, the president, and say to do this because it's not. And even Gilmore looked at me like, whoa. I said, yeah, Dave, it's this one's not practical. But if you want me to go fight for a fourth color on your album cover, because I know Storm wants to make the blue of the Division Bell album cover special, and the record company doesn't want to pay for a fifth color because it's expensive. I said, I'll go fight for that. And I'm going to go fight for this airship. I love you guys. I'm your biggest fan, right? But some stuff is not practical. But I had a wonderful relationship with those guys, and we did some great stuff together.
Man, I can't wait for the book. Paul Rappaport, Gliders Over Hollywood, Airships, Airplay, and the Art of Rock Promotion. We could talk to you all day, but unfortunately we've kept you way too long. Man, dude, good luck on the book. In the UK, April the 1st.
Yeah.
And in the US, April the 15th. Is that right?
April 15th, yes. And let's hear it for all the rock and roll dads.
Yeah, rock and roll dads everywhere. And you certainly are a rock star dad, man. Yes. Thank you for coming on the show. Come back on sometime, man. I could listen to these stories all day.
I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know, some rockstar dads who started a show. Until the next episode.